Okay, so you should have completed checkpoint number 5 on the bottom of page 19. And now I will do it. Step 1, solve for y. Step 2, make a table and choose a domain. Now, my domain is restricted. I have to choose 0 as my first number. So I'll do 0, 1, 2. When x is 0, this is 4. When x is 1, 3, and 2. So now I'm going to graph 0, 4, 1, 3, 2, 2. Now, x has to be greater than 0, so I know my line cannot exist in that quadrant because x is 0, so it's going to be a ray facing down. Now, I have to think about my range. Well, since my domain is x is greater than or equal to 0, I know my range will be an inequality 2. The endpoint has to be 4. Are the numbers going to be greater than 4 or less than 4? They're going to be less than or equal to 4. So that's my domain and range. Okay, now everyone's going to turn the page and you're going to do, actually, we're going to do numbers 1, 2, and 3. Just 1, 2, and 3 right now. So stop the video, do 1, 2, and 3. When you're done with 1, 2, and 3, play the video to see if you got it right. Okay? So stop the video, and now I will do 1, 2, and 3, and you can see if you got it right. So first, I rewrite my equation solving for y. Y equals negative x plus 2. I don't have to choose a domain because I'm given a domain. My domain is restricted. So I do 2, 1, 0, 4. I plug in my x's, I get y value of 0, 1, 2, and negative 2. And I graph 2, 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, and 4, negative 2. And this is my domain, and this is my range. And I'm done. Think about why I don't connect the dots. I don't connect the dots because I have a discrete domain and I have a discrete range. Notice there's 4 elements in my domain, there's 4 elements in my range, and there's 4 points on my graph. Now, we're going to graph the next one. So, first thing I do is say y equals negative x plus 2. And this time, I choose a domain, but it is restricted. I must start with the number 2. That has to be an endpoint. So I pick 2, 3, and 4, and I get 0, negative 1, negative 2. I graph 2, 0, 3, negative 1, 4, negative 2. I know that x has to be greater than 2, so this whole area cannot contain anything. And this is going to be a ray facing that way. So my range has to start with 0. That has to be an endpoint. Y is less than or equal to 0. So notice that my domain was an inequality, my range is an inequality. When it's an inequality, it's usually a ray. This is a continuous graph, because if I picked up one point, they would all come with it. And then finally, the last one, no restrictions on the domain. So that means the domain is all real numbers and the range is all real numbers. And I can pick any numbers I want. So I'm going to pick negative 1, 0, and 1. And I get 3, 2, 1. So negative 1, 3, 0, 2, 1, 1. And now I connect it and put arrows in both directions because my domain is unrestricted and it includes all real numbers. Okay, now let's turn back to page 17. Okay, turn back to page 17. And on page 17, we're going to go over what I call special cases. Now, special cases are special. Everything about them is different. And it's a special case when either the x disappears or the y disappears. Now, if you remember when we were doing standard form, sometimes it was 0x plus 2y equals 6, something like that. Well, you don't have to put the 0x, and then I could divide both sides by 2, and I'd end up with y equals 3. So these special cases are in standard form, but it's just with one variable. The other variable disappears. Now, when it says y equals -3, I want you all to think of the word hoy. And when it says x equals 2, I want you to think of the word vux. Hoy and vux are going to become two of your best friends. Now, hoy stands for horizontal. It's a horizontal line, goes like that. 0 is zero slope. We'll go over that. And y, the equation is y equals. So when you have any equation that's just y equals blank, you find where y equals -3. And all along this line, y equals -3. So you draw a horizontal line through y equals -3. Now, for a vux, V stands for vertical. And a vertical line looks like this. U stands for undefined slope. You'll find out what that means later. And it's when you have x equals as an equation. So, if x equals 2, you go to where x equals 2 and you put a vertical line. So, if it's y equals a number, it's horizontal. If it's x equals a number, it's vertical. Okay? So let's turn to page 18. And we're going to do 2 and 4 together. So number 2 says x equals 5/10 or 1/2. Okay? So this is a vux. Vux stands for vertical. We're going to draw a vertical line. Where are we going to draw a vertical line? Where x equals 1/2. So x equals 1/2 here. So there's my vertical line. Now, the next one says y equals -1.5. That's a hoy. Hoy stands for horizontal. I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Where am I going to draw a horizontal line? Where y is -1.5. So I go where y is -1.5, and I draw a horizontal line. Okay, so now I want everyone to turn back to page 20, and I want you to graph y equals 2 and x equals 2. So you guys go ahead and do that. Stop the video, and when you're done, turn it on again. Okay, so welcome back. So for y equals 2, that's a hoy, which means it's horizontal. And horizontal, like the horizon, looks like that. So I go up to where y equals 2, and I'm done graphing. It would help if I showed it. There we go. Y equals 2. Now, for this one, x equals 2. So x equals 2 is a vertical line, because it's a vux. And I go to where x equals 2, and I draw a vertical line. Now, x can only equal 2. Y, the range, would be all real numbers. Okay? Okay, so that is the end of this video. The next one will be on word problems.